There's a common Igbo adage, gidi gidi bu gweze, meaning that unity is strength. Another common saying is, if you want to go fast, do go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. The fight against human trafficking and violence against persons requires the united front of all of society and all of government, including the international community. This is NAPTIP on the move, and I am Emmanuel Okeke. Glad to have you join us. On this episode, we will bring you the operations of the Intelligence and International Collaboration Unit of the agency, the strategies and efforts to ensure a human trafficking and violence-free Nigeria. Stay with us.
The essence of intelligence reports and collaborating with international partners for a crime that is transnational in nature cannot be overemphasized. To this end, and in fulfillment of its mandate to stamp out trafficking in persons and violence against persons, NAPTIP set up the Intelligence and International Cooperation Unit.
The fight against human trafficking is a clandestine one and needs all hands on deck. And so in 2011, the agency felt the unit should be carved out to help with first-hand information gathering that you turn into intelligence to enable the agency run with the fight of human trafficking and achieve its set goals and mandates. And so, to be specific, the intelligence unit is at the forefront in fighting this crime, because we analyze information into intelligence that we feed to the investigation department, who now further go for investigations and make arrests with the analysis we've given to them on any information we've gathered. And they also work hand in hand with the legal department that assists the agency in winning convictions.
It also interfaces directly with the international partners.
The issue of human trafficking is a global issue, and no one agency can fight it alone. You need collaboration with other sister agencies and countries, including embassies. And so we come together to form synergy and tinker a way out of the box on the best practices on how to fight this menace. And so at the national level, we work with sister agencies like the police, the immigration services. We also work with a lot of NGOs in terms of information gathering. And we work with NIA, DIS, ONSA. There are lots that we work with. And at the international level, we work with all the embassies. So many cases where we've had joint operations with partners, and we achieved the result. There is one we had with the UK, and it was a simultaneous operation. It happened at the airports in Lagos, and at the same time it was taking place in the UK airports. We were able to, because of the information we got, we were able to do a joint operation, and arrests were made simultaneously at both ends. It was a huge success, and over 37 people were apprehended And of a very recent fact, we got information from the Swedish embassy, and this led to the arrest of a mother and a baby. And right now, the baby has been separated from the mother because after all the investigations that were carried out and the information we got, it was so clear that the mother is not the mother of the baby. And so these are some of the joint operations we've had, and they are still ongoing.
Speaking on the collaborative effort so far, the Deputy Head of Mission of the Embassy of Sweden shares a few words.
Trafficking in persons is actually one of Sweden's global priorities, and our government established an ambassador that works solely on this issue on the global level. And to his help and to the government's help, he of course has all the Swedish embassies around the world working with national authorities, such as NAPTIP here in Nigeria. So earlier this year in April, we had a high-level visit from the Swedish Migration Board and the Swedish National Police, working specifically on international crimes such as trafficking. Came here to visit, also to meet with NAPTIP, and that was an incredibly good visit. They felt they got a much better sense of the problem and the scale also here in the region, not only the victims that come to Sweden, but also how trafficking works here between countries coming in and out as well. So definitely we've had a lot of exchange with NAPTIP. We exchange information, share knowledge, etc. For example, if we suspect there's a victim of trafficking coming in to apply for travel documents or visas, we make sure to share this information with NAPTIP and also with the national authorities. And we're very happy to have that kind of collaboration and hope that we can increase it even further.
She also highlights the issues of trafficking within her nation.
We do have data on people seeking asylum and people who claim that they are victims of trafficking. And actually, the group of people claiming Nigerian citizenship has actually increased quite sharply over just the last few years. So last year, in 2017, there were just over 400 people that claimed asylum in Sweden from Nigeria, and 48 people from Nigeria that claimed that they were victims of trafficking. And this may not sound like that much, but this was actually the largest group from any one country last year, with of course from Afghanistan and Syria and others, but from Nigeria was the largest group in Sweden last year.
The German embassy is also amongst the embassies collaborating with NAPTIP.
The government of Germany recognizes that NAPTIP is a very important agency, and we support it 100%. What we do, we provide training through the German police force for NAPTIP officers in investigation, prosecution. We provide them with video equipment, for example, for their investigation work, and we have a very close police cooperation with NAPTIP. One of the very important things that NAPTIP is doing is the enlightenment and just making people aware of the dangers, because we feel, and I know NAPTIP feels too, for a long time there was no counter-narrative to the traffickers, and the German Foreign Office funds some German Nigerians who come back and partner with NAPTIP to enlighten Nigerian youth. They go to churches, to universities, to school, and talk about it. And I mean, there was just one such event at the University of Abuja, also in Benin City, where it's happening. So we do sponsor many of these programs, and I mean, NAPTIP is our most important and most valuable partner in that regard.
On the implementation of the Violence Against Persons Act, the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Programme of the British Council, ROLAC, collaborates with the agency.
Basically, we are into 4 different themes that we're supposed to implement under the program. We have the component or the theme on criminal justice reform. The second one is the theme on access to justice for women, children, and persons with disabilities. And the third is on our support to anti-corruption. And finally, the fourth one is the engagement with the media and civil society organizations to help and to engage with public institutions on the first 3 items I've mentioned: criminal justice reform, access to justice for women and children, and on anti-corruption. So for one, we are looking at a legislation, a framework that have been developed by Nigeria, by Nigerians, and we will use that as the basis to provide our support, to advance the cause of women. And the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act is one of those pieces of legislation that we thought provides a very good framework for us to provide our support. Of course, the first thing that we did was, when we started the implementation of the project, is to do some assessment of their own capacity to implement the law. As you know, their primary responsibility is for trafficking, trafficking offenses, and then this added responsibility. So having done that, we're able to identify a number of priority actions. One is training. We're able to have the first set of training for them. We did that in Kaduna, training their investigators and training their prosecutors. The second one that we've identified is also to assist in creating awareness. Awareness for people to know that, one, there is a legislation, two, there are service providers that are available to help, in addressing the situation. Three, there is the law enforcement angle to it, And perhaps five, the prevention aspect is very important. Crimes like this take place in our communities where we have traditional rulers, where we have clerics, where we have elder statesmen, So if we're able to create that awareness amongst them, they will also lend their voice and support. So far, so good. The cooperation has been wonderful. We've been receiving the support that we need from NAPTIP. But of course, as you know, like an organization like that, any other public institution, there are limitations to resources. So what we will try as much as possible to do is basically to support where we think there are gaps, but also advocating to the government, the main funder, to provide additional resources for them to be able to carry their own work.
The ROLAC program is working to ensure that the VAP Act is adopted by all states of the Federation.
We are working with the states to see whether they could adopt and domesticate the VAP. It could come in different ways. It need not necessarily be a wholesale adoption of VAP. So for instance, in Adamawa State, they are keen in terms of getting some of the offenses in the VAP domesticated into their own penal court. They would rather prefer having it incorporated in an existing legislation than to have a separate legislation for that. That will also come with its own challenges in terms of implementation, but that is the way they want to go. For a start, we think we should go ahead and support them. In future, maybe after some review, they may see the need to have a wholesale adoption. So far, there has been one success story, Anambra State. Recently, they were able to domesticate and adopt the VAP law in the state. The governor has signed that. So we are working with the Ministry of Women Affairs in order to identify what actions can we support to see that this legislation is implemented. We have some wider networks, like the network of justice sector reform teams. So in such fora, we try to advocate for other states to see whether they can adopt similar legislation. Because the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act is an important piece of legislation. When you mention that, people immediately think that, it's a legislation that will only help the women folk. No. There are a number of offenses that are covered under that piece of legislation. Even political violence is also covered under that piece of legislation. So it's an important piece of legislation that I think would be able to help address some of the burning issues that we have in the country. If you look around, you see a lot of violence, a lot of destruction, a lot of killing in the country. Whether it's political or not, we have all sorts of violence. And that if you have a piece of legislation that is supposed to help you address that, I would think that one should readily, adopt it.
Although the job of gathering relevant intelligence and collaborating with the international community to fight human trafficking and violence against persons is rewarding, it is still not without challenges.
NAPTIP is the only focal agency that has been created by the federal government to fight the menace of human trafficking. And so it is expected that such an agency saddled with a lot of workload should be encouraged by ensuring that operational vehicles and funding are always, being sent to them to assist them to fight. But another problem we have as a challenge from this unit is lack of information sharing. We discovered that my international partners, most of the time do not want to share all the information they have, especially when the trafficker is one of them. They tell you issues like human rights, protection of their, citizens and all that, but it's not helping. Because when they request for some of this information from our end, they expect you to give everything. And when you, in return, need to find out some of these issues, they bring in this issue of human rights. So that's one of the challenges we've been having fighting this crime. And this issue of interagency rivalry. You see, NAPTIP was set up by the government, like I said earlier, to fight this crime. And so when our sister partners who are at the border, because we are not at the borders, we are not at the airports, which is also another challenge, when they apprehend some of these traffickers, and the natural thing for them to do is to refer them to the agency that has been set up to fight that crime, because personnel of that agency have been trained. They have the indicators of these traffickers or who is a victim at their fingertips, and so it makes them to be able to carry out the job and do the needful. And so it's vice versa. When NAPTIP picks up any issue we feel is not our core mandate, we make reference to them. So it should be a vice versa thing. So all hands actually should be on deck to fight this crime, because the present Director General of the agency, Dame Julie Okadonli, has so much passion in fighting this crime, and prevention, they say, is better than cure. So, and that is why you see that we've been out there doing a lot of sensitization, because if people know the ills of human trafficking and they are being taught about the indicators, it will be easier for the agency to do their job.
Despite these challenges, the agency is not resting on its oars in the fight against human trafficking and violence against persons.
The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, known as the VAP Act, aims to eliminate violence in private and public life, prohibit all forms of violence against persons, provide maximum protection and effective remedies for victims, while ensuring that offenders are adequately punished. NAPTIP implements this act, and for all victims of violence, be it domestic, physical, economic and psychological violence, female genital mutilation, incest, harmful substance attacks, rape, child abandonment, and so on, we call on you to take your destiny into your own hands by reporting to NAPTIP, and we assure you that justice will be served.
Report all cases of violence against persons to these hotlines: 0703 0000 203, 080 2255 627847. NAPTIP, ensuring a human trafficking and violence-free nation.
NAPTIP Events is next. Don't go away. Delegates from the International Organization for Migration, IOM, led by the newly appointed Chief of Mission, Franz Celestin, recently paid a courtesy visit to the Director General of NAPTIP, Dame Julie Okadonli, and her team at the headquarters of the agency in Abuja. Recounting previous successes between both parties as regards cases of irregular migration and human trafficking, the newly appointed IOM Chief of Missions, Franz Celestin, reiterated its partnership commitment to the agency.
Today is basically to come here to commit to NAPTIP, working with you and the guidance that we can get from you, because you are the agency that is mandated to do this on behalf of the federal government, and we at a global level, and responding to our member states, Nigeria is one of our member states, can provide this necessary support.
Welcoming the IOM team, Dame Julie Okadonli commended the organization for its assistance towards the agency over the years.
Since the inception of NAPTIP in 2003, IOM has really supported us, been one of our greatest allies in the fight against human trafficking. Our first shelter, I hear, was donated and equipped by IOM. And you also offered technical assistance for the effective takeoff of the Lagos Zonal Command in 2004. I'm thanking you for that.
She also spoke on the importance of awareness campaigns and joint projects.
For me, number one is prevention. Prevention. Through creation of awareness, billboards to be kept in strategic locations, adverts on the radio, TV jingles, and all of that, around the airports where people come back from and where these people go, around the borders, around the seaports, where we can put billboards, we can say, don't travel, call NAPTIP, if anyone promises, things like that, because if we're able to prevent people from going, it will really, really help us.
The Director General then appealed to IOM to help repatriate Nigerians who are victims of irregular migration and human trafficking stranded in Mali and other West African countries as well as Saudi Arabia and Oman. She then stressed on closer collaboration to enable proper rehabilitation and reintegration of returnees who are victims of human trafficking for effective and adequate monitoring and evaluation. The meeting was very successful as both parties agreed to strengthen collaborations in the fight against human trafficking and irregular migration. A five-man delegation from the West African Police Information System (WAPIS), an Interpol program funded by the European Union to support the efforts of national authorities and ECOWAS in combating transnational organized crimes such as drug trafficking, human trafficking, and terrorism affecting the region, were recently at the agency's headquarters in Abuja. The team, which was led by its coordinator, Mohamed Yanase, visited the headquarters of NAPTIP to conduct an assessment of the existing legal and technical framework of the agency. It was an interactive session as the WAPIS delegates assessed the agency on the phases of criminal proceedings from the commencement of an investigation to the issuance of the final judgment, the processing of police, judicial, and biometric data, and information systems used for data processing. After the meeting, the Interpol technical team proceeded to the agency's National Monitoring Center to get more insight on the National Trafficking in Persons Database and Information Sharing Network. Collaboration and information sharing between WAPIS and NAPTIP will further strengthen the fight against human trafficking within the sub-region. To further strengthen collaborations in the fight against human trafficking and irregular migration, the Director General of NAPTIP, Dame Judy Okadonli, and her team had a meeting with the European Union delegates at the European Union office in Abuja. Some of the issues raised by the Director General of NAPTIP include the deportation of irregular migrants and the impact on victims of human trafficking, the negotiations on return and readmission of irregular migrants as well as other projects. Responding, the representative of the head of delegation, the deputy head, Richard Young, briefed the Director General and her team on the progress made so far. The meeting was interactive as both parties strengthened commitment in the fight against human trafficking.
NAPTIP on the Move is co-sponsored by the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Programme, ROLAC, funded by the European Union and implemented by the British Council.
The Victim Story segment features survivors of man's inhumanity to man. Keep watching.
I'm from Kano State. I'm 14 years old. I was going to school in my house, but our pastor took me to one auntie's house I should help them do work and help them do everything, cook for them. And as the children are going to school, I should bath them and wear clothes for them. So when I go there, if my auntie travel go somewhere, my uncle will be disturbing me. He was touching all over my body in the night. Or I'm bathing, be touching me inside toilet. I wanted to tell my auntie, but if I tell my auntie couldn't believe. So that's why. So my nephew, and in the morning when my uncle go out, so it's only me that was at home. So when I come out in the morning, I tell my nephew, see what my uncle they do for me at home. So she was recording it inside her phone. I was saying it. She can say, okay, people are coming to help you. So people came on Friday. I was afraid, I was shaking. They say I should cool down. They're not going to do anything for me. They just want to help me. They want to help my life. I said, okay. So they put me inside car. They took me to NAPTIP. So NAPTIP was training me. NAPTIP was giving me everything. Was giving me food to eat. They were going clothes at home and give me. So they asked me, they are going to bring me in work lab. So they'll put me in school. I said, okay. So they're bringing me in work lab. I want to be a nurse. And I want to be helping people as they are helping me.
For more enquiries and support, or to report cases of suspected human trafficking and violence against persons, call NAPTIP hotlines on 0703 0000203 or 0800 2255 627847 or email info@naptip.gov.ng. Visit our website www.naptip.gov.ng. Follow us on our social media platforms at NAPTIP Nigeria and watch our videos on YouTube.
It's time to say goodbye, but I must urge you to support NAPTIP by reporting suspected cases of violence against persons, child abuse, and human trafficking. The NAPTIP iReport app puts the power in your hands. Do join us again, same time next week. I am Emmanuel Okiki. Goodbye.